Ni hao, ladies and gentlemen. Shay for viewing. This is internet personality Vangelus here with a review of the robot Damashii Shen from Code Geass. This gorgeous piece of delectable china was provided to me by HLJ, and is the very first Code Geass robot Damashii that I've gotten to mess with. Right off the bat, I just want to say that this dude's face sculpt is what sold me on the design instantly. I can't tell you any kind of cultural connotations, I can't tell you any kind of design inspirations, all I can say is it is wicked. As is the rest of his design, with its striking red and blue, and flaps all over the place. This guy carries on the fine lineage of Robot Damashii by being posable up his wazoo. He's got ball joints in the neck, he's got double balls in the shoulders, although his shoulders are a little bit flimsy on the insides, but those can move all over the place. He doesn't have double-jointed elbows, which is a shame, and similarly, he kind of has double-jointed knees, but they don't move like them. They only go about this far, so that's a shame too. His elbows and knees are easily the biggest disappointments, but he's also got a ball in the waist, he's got a ball in the hip, he's got a ball in the ankle, and a sick ankle swivel. So he can go as wide-legged as you want him to, and he'll be steady and grounded on the floor. Well, steady and grounded. Also, all these flaps on him, they can move all over the place. The shoulder ones don't really get in the way of posability. Oddly enough, they can get in the way of your fingers, because they're pointy. These skirts on the sides can be a bit of a bother. The one on the back is the worst because it doesn't really move all that much. It's even packaged separately when you get this guy. The one on the front, though, is odd because it's on a double hinge, so it can move up and out like this. I don't recall if this actually is a piece of mechanical detailing from the show or if it's just for convenience on the legs, but it does help out. By the way, if you want to know more about the Shen fiction-wise, or you want to see someone who's a bit more centric on the storyline and tech and item names and stuff in regards to the Shen, check out Cobra Commander TFW's review. He gets in and all about that storyline-ish. Now, for the plethora of swappable hands, you get the open hands currently on the Shen, and you get these hands for holding his swords. His swords are big and long and very easy for him to grasp hold of and wave around in a deadly manner. Problem is, that's all you get as far as hands. Granted, he doesn't really need any other ones, because the holding things hands can kind of double as fists, but I do wish he had closed fists. The dude is pretty loaded with other stuff, though, so I can see why they left them out, and I'm glad he has the other accessories he's got. For instance, his float pack, which is vaguely removable. You can pull these panels off the sides if you so choose. He also has an opening cockpit, which has a detailed interior, but somehow I'm still not all that into it. I guess it's just like, I wish that if they'd sculpted all this stuff inside there, that they would have, if not at least painted in some more of it, maybe included a little pilot to sit in the chair. That would have finished it off so nicely. But that's the brakes. It still is a nicely done opening cockpit feature. It's very solid, does not feel like it'll come apart anytime soon. The other big thing about this guy is that his float pack wings, number one, they have this really cool thing where they kind of synchronize as they fold open, so they will always stop at that length apart. And once you get them there, you just keep turning the top one and array them as you please. Or pull them off the float pack, that can happen too. This guy's pegs, they are pretty solid, but they aren't like clip-in solid. On the bright side, that means you won't break anything, it's just you might pull a bit off here and there. Now, the float pack fully open is, pretty glorious. The dude looks like a hovering warrior of robotic Chinese death. And according to Andy the Cobra Commander, the big upside of this is that, well, the wings can fold. Because apparently a lot of the other robot Damashis with these float packs get them locked in this position, and that would make shelf displays pretty crowded pretty fast, not to mention having all this pointy stuff sticking all over the place. I love that you can just collapse these down and make them look kind of like a bit of a cape behind the majesticness of this robot. He's also got a feature built into his chest. Within his torso, he holds a baryon cannon, also known as the Tengaku Hao Juryushi Ho, or the Heavenly Particle Shocking Cannon. And to unleash this weapon of mass destruction, you get a pretty solid mechanism whereby these 4 panels on his torso can just be pulled outwards, to reveal the detail of the Tengaku Hao Juryushi Ho inside his chest. And it's nicely done. I believe Andy voiced something similar to my own opinion, which is that this is the kind of thing that we might have expected to see as like a fully separate torso piece that you'd have to plug on and pull off again, and instead it's all built in solidly and subtly, and I really appreciate that. Now, I don't have a lot of other Robot Damashii Knightmare frames, but the level of quality on the Shen Hu, in terms of all these little built-in jointings and features on his person, does lead me to believe Andy's assertion that this is one of the most solid Robot Damashii Code Geass releases thus far. And there are still accessories to go! The other main feature on this guy's body is that you can pull off his wrist guards. You have to pull the hand off first, but this is the gateway to some more accessory goodness. You just have to pull the hands on and off before you do all this stuff, and then you can take one of the alternate wrist guards and just stick them in place. Now we're armed and ready! The first one I want to show you here is a wrist guard wherein he is firing off one of his little rope darts. They're called Slash Harkins, if I recall correctly, and as you can see, this one's in a pretty dynamic pose. You do get two of them, and this one seems to be straight. That's because this is actually posable wire, which has made Mr. Andy Millman rather nervous, but I've been finding this stuff is okay provided you treat it with kid gloves and you don't, like, just crank it into harsh 90-degree angles. Just kind of roughly curve it in directions you wish it to go and then very gently straighten it out afterwards, and all should be golden. This accessory, though, being a piece of posable wire, it is very fragile, it is prone to breakage, and you do want to be very careful with it. And if you don't want to risk it, you can just kind of leave it in the box if you so choose. But as Andy pointed out, these ones aren't contained in their own little baggies, so you're kind of encouraged to play with them. Now, in the show, he can also start spinning these things around pretty fast, and when he does that, you can swap in one of these forearms. Again, you do get a pair of them, so you can have the dude dual-wielding these, which is a pretty wicked look. And it is semi-transparent, so you can have him looking through his makeshift shield as he also weighs the hell down on this Damashii stage stand. But I like the way this is done. I mean, it's whiter in the middle, there's some yellow around the sides, so it really tries to give the appearance of a spinning object. And all things considered, I think this was a very effective accessory, and oddly enough, the most solid of the bunch. I thought this was going to be paper thin and almost rippable, but this is a very solid plastic. It's clearly harder than the Damashii stage I'm trying to use, but this is a very well done accessory set for the forearms, and I think that this really makes up for the lack of fists, especially since you get two of each. The real joy of the Shen Hu is the fact that you get to dual wield anything. His bendy slash Harkins, his whirling slash Harkins, you know, to protect the princess, or his twin badass swords. By the way, there are a few more gratuitous features on this guy, which are so gratuitous, I didn't even know they were there until an hour or two after I opened him up. Number one is not all that important, but it's great for pose tweaking. His wings can be rotated at this joint as well as outwards, so you get a lot of customizability there. He also has, on both feet, these fold-down, kick you so hard in the face your face splits open blades. And, like Andy, I don't recall if these were even in the show, but they are such a cool detail. I mean, sure, you know, he can ice skate on them, but more importantly, he can do a massive flying scissor dragon kick attack thing! He can also hold his sword with two hands. Do you know how ludicrously badass that is? The Robot Damashii Shen Hu is one of the nicest examples of Robot Damashii I have handled to date. My usual measuring stick, the 00, needs 2 full add-ons to even feel vaguely on par. Naturally, if you're a Code Geass fan, and more so a fan of the Shen Hu's design, you guys won. You have ended up with a bar setter of Robot Damashii design. Now, there are problems, yes. The elbows and knees not being double-jointed is a big minus. Also, the various flaps on his shoulders and skirt have a propensity for either stabbing you, falling off, or doing both in quick succession. Also, he has no closed fists. But the execution of his existing accessories, as well as the placement of jointings throughout his body outside of the elbows and knees, the ludicrously nicely done ankle joints, The clean design, the fold-up wings, it all adds up to a dead solid action figure of a robot. And size-wise, he's barely bigger than your average 4-inch figure. So you won't have to devote an entire shelf to showcase this dude. Tony Stark kind of wishes he came up with ideas like this. I'd say the Shen is something that you should look into, even if you have no idea what it is. Then again, maybe you don't like the mask. You're crazy, but, you're free to that opinion. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus. Shay again for watching, folks! And I'll catch you later. Back to the drawing board on those knife boots. It's a shame what happened to the last test subject. Went straight through his shins. Poor old banana legs, that's what we called him.